a student studying maths or geography in school. This is also a form of zikr. Anything which reminds you about your magnificent Lord is a form of zikr. So that is the first, I think, misconception that sometimes people fall victim to. When they hear the word zikr, then they think of a khanqa. They think of a circle. When they hear the word zikr, they think of a mullah saying Allahu and everyone read behind them. You know, later tonight you could be just playing with your children, and that is a form of zikr because it's a form of worship. You know, later after Jumu'ah prayer, when you go on your job and you do so with the intention of feeding your family, that is a form of zikr as well. So zikr itself, please don't confine its usage. It's very wide. You could be playing football tonight and it's a form of zikr because you say, I want to keep myself fit. I want to look after this amana that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me. So important, so pivotal, so central is zikr in our religion that Allah quite simply, in a very loose manner, says, do it however you can. I'm not going to put conditions down. When it comes to the remembrance of Allah, I'm not going to put certain shurut and conditions of how and when we do it. And that is beautifully reflected in the Holy Quran where our Lord says, الَّذِينَ يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا وَعَلَى جُنُوبِهِمْ. Allah loves those Muslims who remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a standing position, in a sitting position, even lying down on their sides. Or to read it differently, what is Allah trying to say? He's saying, I don't care what you're doing, but you can still engage in the remembrance of Allah. Think about how certain worships, in order to perform them, you have to have fulfilled certain conditions. In order to perform the Jumu'ah prayer, you have to be in major and minor ritual cleanliness. You have to have done wudu. We expect a certain attire when you come to the masjid. A certain amount of the body has to be covered. Conditions are put down. But so important is zikr that you don't have to be in the state of ablution in order to do it. You don't have to have a tasbih in your hand. You don't have to be facing the qibla. Even to our sisters, we remind us there are many different types of askar that they can perform even when they are on their monthly menstruations. What is this telling you? It's reminding you and reflecting the fact that because it's so important, Allah has released some of the conditions behind it. Allah is almost encouraging that you can do it however you want and when you want. He's made life easy when it comes to that. So much so and so important is this idea. And I will summarize it beautifully in the saying of our Messenger ﷺ, to give you an idea of how important zikr is. The Prophet ﷺ said, مَثَلُ الَّذِي يَذْكُرُ اللَّهَ وَالَّذِي لَمْ يَذْكُرِ اللَّهَ كَمَثَلِ الْحَيِّ وَالْمَيِّتِ أو كما قال. In a most blatant, the most polemic, the most extreme of examples to show how important a person who does the zikr is and who doesn't. What did our messenger say? The one who remembers Allah and the one who doesn't, their comparison is like the one who is alive and the one who is dead. That is how much gulf there is between them. Coming to this day and age, why is zikr so important? A few simple points that I want to share with you. Because of our time constraints, unfortunately, I'll just mention them very, very briefly. The first point about zikr is, and why it is so important, is that zikr brings sukoon and itminan to the heart. It's the only thing which feeds it. This world is only made up of two powers or two forces, the material and the spiritual. The material is the gadget, the money, the fame, the name, and all of these things, the cars outside. The spiritual is your relationship and how your heart feels. We have reached a conclusion, and I think the West is struggling to accept it because they are the advocates of capitalism. They are the ones who want people to consume and consume. But people have reached that conclusion that when it comes to satisfaction, inner satisfaction, material doesn't work. it's not satisfying people. Because as soon as you buy a gadget, a car, a house, it brings elation for a few moments, a few days, a few weeks. But greed and human nature is such that you're never content with it. You want a second car, you want a second video, you want a new brand. You feel that I am not keeping up with the Germans. The sukoon that we require in our lives is never from the material, it's always from the spiritual. And that starts with the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your heart by its nature, and subhanAllah, this is what qalb means. It's restless. What does qalb mean? Qalb means to alternate. Harkat mein hona. In the Quran, in Sūrah Nur, Allah says, يُقَلِّبُ اللَّهُ اللَّيْلَ وَالنَّهَارِ. He uses the same word there, يُقَلِّبُ. It's from the word qalb. Allah alternates the day and night. Changes it. Your heart by its nature is restless. You know, kabhi dunya, kabhi akhirat. You know, kabhi Dubai, kabhi South Africa. You know, kabhi pakore, kabhi samosa. You know, kabhi hot, kabhi cold. You know, everyone is always restless. And that's where the word sukoon comes in. What does sukoon do? Sukoon means diddul haraka. It means the opposite of movement. It brings peace to it. It calms it down. So in this very difficult and sensitive and volatile world, a restless world, everyone needs a moment of satisfaction, lasting satisfaction. It is the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that always provides that. Number two, Allah has stressed the importance of occupying your mind with the remembrance of Allah. At all times, remember Allah. That is why you would have noticed that there is a dua, there is a wazifa, there is a supplication that you can recite for each and every opportunity of the day. You wake up, there is a dua for it. You look at the mirror in the bathroom, there is a dua for it. You're doing wudu, there is a dua for it. You're having your breakfast, there is a dua for it. You're getting in the car, there is a dua for it. You got school examinations, there is a dua for it. You sneeze, there is a dua for it. Allah is saying, look, by nature, the human mind is like a vessel. It needs something to fill it. And by stressing the importance of the zikr of Allah to fill this vessel, Allah is also indicating that if you don't fill it with the zikr of Allah, your mind will be filled with something else. And when it gets filled with something else, it could lead to your destruction. The mind by nature is never empty. You know, we have our youngsters here. Youngsters by nature, when they're young, they're restless. They have hobbies, they have interests. They take interest in cards. You know those football cards, Premier League cards. They take interest in games. They take interest in football. They take interest in collecting things. The mind is restless. If you don't fill the mind, it'll get filled in with something else. And subhanAllah, and this is the irony and this is the problem of this day and age, is that people now are finding other things to fill the vessel of their mind with. And because of the nature of society, we cannot control this most of the time. May Allah protect us. It is the negative, it is the haram thing which is filling their minds. Or at the very least, this is distractions from the zikr of Allah. People become obsessed and fixated, their mind becomes filled with making money and nothing else. People become fixated with the dunya, with social media, with their clothes and their looks. People talk about addiction now, about appearances. Where people are going gym at the weight and most wonderful of timings. The point is that you fill your mind with the zikr of Allah, because if you don't, your mind, your vessel will get filled with something else. And when it gets filled with something else, it turns into an addiction. It turns into an azab, it turns you away from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number three, why is zikr so important? Talking and referring back to mental illness. Mental illness starts from the way the mind thinks. A person who is suffering from any type of mental illness, for whichever reason, the world caves in on that person. They can't see the light. They're always thinking negatively. They're always thinking doom and gloom, and for them, the glass is always half empty. Most people who suffer from any type of mental illness disorder always talk about the negative thought, the negativity and the inability to see positivity. Allahu Akbar. The zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala eradicates all of that. No one has ever done the zikr of Allah except their mindset changes for the better. You can't do doom and gloom if you're remembering Allah. You can't be depressed inside if you are continuously remembering Allah. The remembrance of Allah is precisely to change your mindset, to make you happy, to make you smile again. Just take the simple Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim that we recite, a type of zikr when we are about to eat, when we get into the car, whatever work we are doing. This Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, it invokes positivity. It's starting any act with the best possible way, because you are invoking the most merciful of Allah's names, the Rahman and Rahim. That, oh Allah, I'm about to start this work and you are the most merciful, you are the most compassionate. Do you really think negativity will come into a person's mind when he recites that? That is why we encourage people to recite Bismillah at all times. People suffer from gham. What is gham? Gham is illness which cannot be seen on the outer body. Gham is inner illness, sadness and depression. If anyone suffers from gham, the best way to actually fight that is the ayat al-karima, La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin. You feel that people are plotting against you? Your religion has a wazifa for it. Recite wa ufawwidu amri ila al-Kahf, inna Allaha basirun bil ibad. You're suffering from, you feel that you're in a tight spot. You're in a stage in your life where your back is against the wall and no one can help you. Recite La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. I promise you will come out of it. And the most jami' and the most comprehensive of all du'as, you cannot remember them. Simply salawat upon the Messenger alayhi salatu wassalam. Whatever illness, whatever depression, whatever sadness you have, you recite durood upon the Messenger alayhi salatu wassalam, wallahi the demon will disappear. It's tried and tested, from the companions right until today. Whenever people have gone through trouble, they have said, Ya Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. They have invoked durood upon him. And as a result of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ensured their salvation. The zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does that. Sometimes, and this is one of the reasons why this khanqa is here, is that people individually, they like the remembrance of Allah. So what do? They gather with like-minded people, and in a place like this, for example, they engage in his remembrance. They sit in mahfil zikrs. They sit in halakas. They sit and they invoke the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Wadud, Ya Kareem, and so forth. Some people, unfortunately, and I'm not going to go into this, they object to these kind of gatherings and say this is bid'ah, this is wrong. To that, it's a strange way of looking at it. People can gather in this country and indeed in the Muslim world to listen to music in form of concert, which is unfortunately happening in the Middle East now. People can gather, like-minded people, to watch a sports event. People can gather because they have a similar interest, chess, stamp collecting. You have clubs like that. But then, when people gather because they want to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, people have a problem with that. These zikr mahafil that we have, they work on so many different levels to ensure our mental well-being. What is the main complaint about mental illness and what is happening in this country right now? Loneliness. We're too secluded and separated from other people. Our communication has become very artificial in the form of the phone. It lacks mahabba, it lacks connection. We don't talk to people to one another. What is the answer to this isolation? It is such a zikr mahafil. It brings people together. People in this day and age, and you've seen the ad that it's good to talk, try to speak up about whatever issues you have. People need a voice that can listen to what their feelings and sentiments are. That is why we have peers and murshids. They are your life coach. They are your mentor. They are your personal teacher who can tell you what's going right in your life and what's going wrong. You will find this in these zikr mahafil. The whole point of these zikr mahafil is also, it stops you from 101 other sins. You come to a zikr mahfil, you might not pick up a word. You might not have actually felt the spiritual force there. But at the very least, just by being in that mahfil, ask yourself, how have you protected yourself from the other ills of society? Had your behavior just by being in that mahfil improved, or had it gone down? Of course it's improved. So these zikr mahafil, they are so important in that sense as well. The final 2 points that I want to mention about the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is strange that we seem to forget Ramadan so quickly. Ramadan was only just over a month ago. And I want to remind you about this beautiful period that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us with. You know, in Ramadan, let's face it, everyone will agree to this, is that Ramadan by its nature, it brings out the best version in us. If you were to ask an individual Muslim that, when are you most proud of yourself, spiritually speaking? At what point in the year are you happy with yourself? I think, without doubt, with a consensus, everyone would say, well, it's the month of Ramadan. The month of Ramadan, I'm most proud of myself. What is special about the month of Ramadan? It comes down to the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's because in the month of Ramadan, for 11 months, you concentrate on your outer body. How you look, your appearance, you know, the cosmetic nature of your body, the size of your biceps. You're concentrating on the outer body, Allah, but in Ramadan, the best version of yourself manifests itself because you are not looking at your outer body anymore in this blessed month. You are concentrating on your inner body. You're looking at the condition of your heart. Your outer body becomes less important in the month of Ramadan. And related to that, why is the month of Ramadan so special for us? Because we are feeding ourselves. In fact, we stuff ourselves. In the month of Ramadan, we end up feeding ourselves more than the whole 11 months. But it's a special type of nourishment. We're not talking about the nourishment that goes down your mouth and, you know, brings a sensation to your tongue. We're not talking about stuffing yourself with all of the desserts on God's earth. Your stomach becomes empty in this month. Your throat becomes dry, but you become inundated, you become stuffed with a very special type of nourishment, and that nourishment is the zikr of Allah which goes to your heart. And that changes us. It makes us better people. It feeds us in the correct manner. It ensures that we are better individuals, more kinder individuals, one with a better relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The last point that I want to mention is that in this day and age, whenever you can do it, however you can do it, take advantage of this beautiful concept in our religion, the concept of zikr. You don't have to be in the state of ablution to be doing it. You don't even have to move your lips in order to be engaged in the zikr of Allah. But just keep thinking about your Creator. When you pass by a beautiful scenery, then think about how Allah perhaps created it. When you see good stories, then understand why and how benevolent and compassionate Allah is. When you see stories that hurt you, seek forgiveness from Him. But the phone, by nature, it is stopping our brains functioning properly. We're not creative individuals anymore. We're not people who think. We're not people who deliberate. We're the kind of society now who just stares at the phone and accepts what we see. We're not free-thinking individuals. The phone has ruined us. The zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a move away from this very technological society that we are living in, and a move towards a more spiritual one, where we contemplate more, where we reflect more. And even in the simplest manner, when we do that, we are engaging in the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah unite us in zikr. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless this day. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless Qibla Qari Sahib and his wonderful team, a beautiful, beautiful khanqah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ensure that this is a means of our salvation on the day of Qiyamah. One last thing, a request from our brothers here, is that on the way out, inshallah ta'ala, there is a book which I wrote about 11 years ago. It's a book called Fuhūd Understanding Aqidah. Alhamdulillah, it's on its fourth print now. Over 4,000 copies have been sold in the United Kingdom and beyond over the last decade or so. It's a simple book about what our Aqidah is. And it's unique in the sense that it's very simply written for our youngsters, for our elders. The bare basics of what we need to know. Belief in Allah, the angels, the books, the last day, resurrection, destiny, and so forth. So in that sense, it's simple. But at the same time, it's complex enough to make you understand the other peripheral issues which relate to our Aqidah. What is shirk? Are we allowed to say, Ya Rasulullah? Is the Prophet ﷺ, what is this Isal Sabab? So the book, at the same time, it gives you the bare basics, and it allows you to understand the more detailed discussions in our religion, which sometimes confuse our people. People nowadays, youngsters, they say, I want to get married. Dad, I want to get married to this girl. What does the father sometimes say? Her aqidah isn't correct. Parents are sometimes asked by children that, why did we do Eid on Saturday and these guys did it on Friday for? The parents reply, their aqidah is not correct. Aqidah has to be important if your parents are saying that. What is our aqidah? If you can, please do purchase the book. The price is £10. When you buy this book, £2 from every package will go to this khanqah. So inshallah ta'ala, we will ensure that your donations go into that if you can. And many of our community have done this in the past in Nottingham. If you can sponsor the book, meaning that if you provide the money, then we can make sure that this book is given to our madaris, to our Darul Ulooms, and then it will be taught there, wherever you are in the world, alive or dead, sleeping or not. You, inshallah ta'ala, will get the reward when that is taught. So it's a beautiful form of sadaqah jariyah, reward without knowing about it. So if you do want to do that, please do advise Jazakallah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
It's